Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful interviews. He's been here before and he's come back again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk to Colin Wyatt from Happy Mind, Happy You because he has been out there boiling away his white vinegar, clearing the skies of the chemtrails. We're going to talk and see how consistent that is, and also theories on why they're doing it. You'll know that on this channel we have been pushing against this or trying to reveal, get people to just to look up, for goodness sake, and see what is going on. Colin is on the line and joins me now. If I can press the right button, there he is.
Hey,
Hello,
Richard.
Colin. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right, actually.
Yeah.
Only the other day, I had a couple of pilots. I don't know if you saw that one, who were
Yes.
revealing what was going on. Then I had a farmer who was saying what was going on up in Yorkshire, saying that they're low level. They were targeting that area specifically because they were going backwards and forwards in an area where they don't normally have planes. It's usually very quiet, and notice that the grass is dying. I've had a couple more farmers get in touch with me by email saying that's not just a load of old rubbish. We know that is happening. And I had a contact tell me today that it sounds like that they are letting arsenic out, which is odorless, colourless, smellless, and not only it kills all the food or the plants, but it can of course kill us. So it's lovely to have a happy, jolly chappy, full of spiritual mentality and all of that coming on the show to help us out with what is going on. So since you were last on, lots of interest in that white vinegar. People have been talking about it everywhere. Are you still doing it?
I am, yes. I've taken a few days off because I've been getting my trailer ready to get out and start sharing the cacao in event for 4 days. So I've had to take a little bit of time off from it, and I've noticed a big difference because of that as well.
Have you?
So, yeah, yeah, huge.
So I know that you had, I think, I can't remember now, you had a little, like a wok thing in the garden that you were heating it up. And now, am I right that you've got some industrial heater, a massive, great big, a skip load of
I'm
white
I'm
vinegar and
upscaling, yeah.
upscaling?
Well, what it does, I've noticed a big difference. I know people that are doing this on a smaller scale, much more
Mm.
simple with candles and with a stainless steel bowl and a little bit of vinegar, and they're putting it up and they're getting good results as well. I've upscaled. I kept getting bigger because I wanted to see if there was a difference. I really wanted to kind
Right.
of monitor if there was a big shift,
Mm.
and I can say a huge, huge difference, which we're going to share in a bit. But a huge difference. So I'm now using a 15 kilogram gas bottle and a big old camping stove with a large, deep vat of vinegar. And a lot of people would say that that might create acidity in the air, that you're going to create an acidic environment, but actually that's not true. All the vinegar is really doing is unsticking the chemical compositions of what's going on in the sky. If you look up to the clouds sometimes, you'll see that the clouds look like they stick together, like they're perfectly together as jigsaws.
Mm.
And it's really interesting how you look and you go, wow, that looks like it's just perfectly pieced together. And what the
Yes.
vinegar does, it gets up there and actually unsticks it and pushes it away. So therefore, you create this beautiful blue dome around your property. And the bigger scale that you do it, the bigger results I'm seeing anyway, for sure.
What happens on a windy day? We've noticed here that the wind has been up, so I'm assuming that the vapours rise, but are blown away by the
Yeah.
wind, so that some lucky person 10 miles away is getting the effect of the vinegar, not directly up. What I
Yeah.
mean, surely the breeze blows the
Yes.
vapours away.
100%. I've got video evidence of that as well. I can show you on days where the wind's blowing that way and you'll get more blue sky down there. You've got
Mm.
days where the wind's blowing that way and there's more blue sky up there. It does happen like that. And I came to a very quick realization that this isn't just about me. It isn't just about me
Mm.
trying to create blue sky above my head. It's
Mm.
actually about everybody benefits from that, and especially the land, right? The land
Mm.
needs to get that sunlight for the food. The food is critical
Mm.
to that. So I'm quite happy to share. And if everyone did that upwind from me, we'd all get it, right? And I think that's one of the solutions to that, by the way, is coastlines. We need to get people on the coastlines doing this because that's where they spray. And if you
Yes.
don't give it a chance to form, they're already on a losing battle, you know?
I mean, it is interesting if you see some of these sky maps. I was at an event, and a gentleman called Ian Simpson showed a satellite picture of England,
Mm,
and he was pointing out. He says, "Can you see all that cloud cover?" And the cloud cover was the shape of England. And he said, "Notice it's not over the sea." And the
absolutely.
audience went, "Oh yeah." He said,
Yeah.
"That's how you know it's
Because there's no
artificial
interest.
because
Exactly. There's
no,
no interest
exactly."
in the sea. There's nothing to gain from the sea, right?
There's not people, hundreds of thousands of people happily farming whilst they swim in the
Yeah.
middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was quite interesting because it was just a very fluffy version of England or the Great Britain covered in all of this stuff. The other thing that I've noticed and other people have mentioned is the eerie temperature drop between the sun is out and you might have 23, 24 degrees, something like that. Cloud comes over, and instead of just dropping down a degree and going, oh, a bit of relief, it drops down like 4 or 5 degrees. It's a noticeable, God, put my jumper on. And then the sun comes back out as it moves over, if it moves over and you haven't got that thick blanket stuff. But it's very cold. And Mark Byford, the bowler hatted farmer, he was talking about that on one of his videos recently, in which he was saying the problem with plants is when it gets cold, they sort of go into a hibernate. They hibernate, and because this is quite constantly cold, they might bud and flower, but they're not growing fruit because the cold is stopping plants from growing. And
Let me just hold you up a picture,
please do.
right? And this is of my this is what happened to my um
Mint, you said
mint.
before.
Yeah. That was what happened to my mint. This was the other day. There was a really weird spell, like exactly what you're describing, and it's literally killed most of my mint there.
Look at that.
And
And there's
and literally the day before that was budding. It was just beautiful. It was a lovely smell of mint as well, and I was able to put it in my tea or whatever. And literally the day after, I noticed it was all starting to die and wither away. Now,
Gosh, I've had a mint tea today, and I'm just wondering now. I wonder what I've just ingested.
well, the lady that you said that was spraying, and she noticed that the things were
Grass,
dying and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, the crops. Well, I mean, there is something called Agent Orange. Have you ever heard of that?
She said that there was an orange tinge to the grass.
Okay, well, Agent Orange is a spray that they put up to kill off, and I think they used it in Vietnam. Don't quote me on that. I think it was there where they used it to kill off all of the growth because it was just too dense for them. And so they used Agent Orange, and they've been threatening farmers in America by, if you don't get rid of some crops in your field a certain amount, then we're going to just spray it anyway. And they say, well, when do we stop? They said, well, we'll let you know because obviously they've got
Who,
satellite. Um,
who, who's threatening them?
there's a few videos of that with farmers, and there they were with
But
their.
who's threatening the farmers that will spray you? Who's saying that?
Well, this is yeah. So exactly who is saying that? There, I understand that it's the government telling them to um,
Stop growing
take or to cut some back. Yeah, you need
for
to
what?
get rid
For
of
I
some of your
mean,
crop.
on what planet? Oh, the Earth. What reason would a government say to a farmer, stop growing healthy,
Hmm.
organic, food for people? And I mean, you can understand if somebody was growing an illicit drug that was killing people
Hmm.
and farmers were growing that in vast numbers, say, look, if you don't do it, we'll come and spray you, mate, because what you're growing is dangerous. But that's not the case, is it? You're
And this was a
saying,
few years ago.
right.
I saw these
I mean, that's
videos a
just
few years
outrageous
ago.
in itself.
Yeah, right. Um,
So, so there's a chance that this is Agent Orange. I mean, we'll put it out there, and anybody watching this who might have some information, please do email in,
Yeah,
richard
and
at
also
bogues.com.
that like you're saying, that sudden cold temperature, that's going to put things into thinking it's autumn. It's going to put it into
Yes.
that oh, it's time to die off. Oh, what are we doing? You know? I've got a little hazel tree that I'm growing, and even that suffered massively because the leaves started all drying up and everything. Just went, and it looked really sad. So I'm out there trying to rescue it at the moment,
Mm.
giving it lots of water and just I haven't planted it in the ground yet, but I know it's not because of that, because it was absolutely fine again just before that weird kind of weather that we had. And
No,
people will know. And I was trying to fit Lino in a blimmin' trailer at that point. And it was absolutely hammering it down. It was unlike anything. It was like autumn stroke winter, you know.
people must now be noticing, surely. I mean, they
Yeah.
must be noticing, even if they don't know what it is.
Do you know
Excuse
what
me.
though, Richard? What I've noticed is when people do start noticing, as soon as that awareness starts coming up, they back off. And then you get a few nice, really good days. And
Well,
then
I notice
and then
it on
slowly
bank
they ease it
holidays.
in again and they're sneaking back in again because they're very sneaky people.
They certainly are. I mean, I notice in bank holidays, for example, the last couple of bank holidays have been quite reasonable
Yeah.
because people are actually out on the beach or they're in the parks or they're out walking and what have you. And, that sort of, if you were to lock people down effectively with the miserable weather and make people not want to
Another
go
is
out,
another way to do it, isn't it?
isn't it?
Mm.
But if you did it on the bank holidays when most people have got time off, that's when they would notice and go, "Oh, not another bloody bank holiday that we can't go." And so that sort of conspiratorial idea might come to them. But I
Yeah.
noticed that the moment the bank holiday was over, the Monday following the last bank holiday, certainly here, it was blanket. It's like back to
Well, they're
business.
also very aware of universal laws, Richard. All right. Yeah, we live by these governances of laws. The law of compensation that what you plant, you get back tenfold at
Mm.
least. Um, you know,
God knows what they're going to get back then.
and what goes up must come down. Yeah, these are universal laws. That's the law of correspondence. And they understand these aren't stupid people. These are extremely intelligent people, but to the point of there's a very fine line between a genius and a psychopath. They
Mm.
both use the same brain and the parts of the brain, and they produce the same sort of chemicals from the brain. But
But
there's just one thing.
I mean, you say they're intelligent, and people would sort of say, but hold on a second, aren't they breathing in the same air that we're breathing? Won't they need food when they've poisoned everything? Won't they need vitamin D from the sun's rays? Won't these people themselves, or are they just, yes, sir, righto, sir, will do, sir, obey the orders without actually any moral compass or even thought for their families,
Richard,
their
they've been
offspring?
they've been doing this for generations. We know
Yeah, but
that,
not
right?
the same people though.
No, not the same people. Exactly. They've been doing it for generations. They see a bigger picture to this. They
Mm.
have a different vision. They know in their lifetime, whatever, 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 and generations down, but they have a plan much further down the line for us.
And yeah, when we can talk about that, but I'm just thinking about the pilots who must be thinking, hang on, what are we spraying here? And they may have children, and it's like, I don't care if my children lives or dies. I'm going to spray the world full of arsenic or aluminium or
But
barium or
if what your pilots were saying was true, and they've got someone from the military in that room, I guarantee you they would be signing the Official Secrets Act.
yes, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the pilots themselves must be
Even if they
going,
are
oh,
questioning, they won't have a choice in that sense.
well, they could leave.
But then there's a cost. See, this is the thing.
I
This is how
mean,
they get
what,
people.
what would you do? Would you say if you've got a child, or your mother, or your father, or a relation, and would you say, well, here's my job. It's to poison my mum and my dad indirectly, one way or another. Shall I just carry on because I've got to pay the mortgage and blah, blah, blah? Or should I actually think about getting another job in which my parents or my children can survive?
I think it depends how they're educated on what's going on up there. If they're told it's something different, if they're
Hmm.
told it's something, maybe there's
Saving the
espionage
planet.
going on, or there's other countries that might put something on. So we need to put this stuff up to protect so it's to protect everyone. It's not actually
Hmm.
and everything you're listening to, the contrary to that is absolute lies. And this is it. And you get in, I joined the army. I was in the army. I was totally indoctrinated into the whole. Um, well, mostly. They couldn't get me completely, but I was mostly indoctrinated into the whole system. And I know how brainwashing works, and I guarantee they'd be doing the same thing. Is just you're told a specific thing, and this is that, and then there's the other thing of fear of, well, then I won't have a job, they'll ruin me, I won't have, place to live, whatever. I mean, there's all these conditions of why people, and that doesn't justify people doing what they're doing, but it goes some ways to explaining the way that they're educated, not just with what they're putting up there, but how they think that they're not going to survive, or with the lifestyle that they're having, and that's a choice that they're making at the cost of, like you say, that potentially their own families as well.
Mm. Well, let's show your videos then. You've got a couple of videos, and
Mm.
we're going to bung them on the screen. This is you in a skimpy outfit, I believe. In
It is
Tenerife. Oh no, no, no,
the
that's not the video
the
we're going to show.
the Borat one, yes,
Yeah.
my mankini, yeah.
This is so. Just explain before you show us what you're going to show us.
Yeah, so this video I took last Friday, and I was up there with the vinegar, and I've seen this many, many times, but I never thought about actually going upstairs to actually view it from a different angle. It's always been from the garden, even though they're always still good results. I wanted to really kind of show this because it was so evident to me. Because I knew on that morning before I'd started that we had complete cloud cover. And the videos I'm going to show you, I'll only do short clips of them, but the videos I'll show you will show how that vinegar is literally almost like it's pushed everything out and said, no, 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 you're not coming in. And there's a couple of little bits up there, but primarily it's blue sky.
Okay, so in order to do this, we're going to do a sharing of the screen,
Hmm.
and for reasons that I don't understand, because I don't normally use Zoom in that way, we can only get a small amount. It's because you've done it on your phone and you've done it portrait
Oops.
instead of landscape.
Yeah,
So we can only get a small picture, and you're going to make that as big as you can, aren't you? Full
I
screen
am.
or something.
Yes.
And talk us through what we can see or can't see.
Yep. So this is, oops, is it playing? That's Friday the 14th of June.
Yeah.
All that sky there was what it was like above me as well.
The sky behind
Yep.
cloud, the cloud rather, not the
Yep.
blue.
And it took about an hour and a half. And you can see in the distance there the cloud. Let me just turn the
Yeah.
volume down. You can see the clouds surrounding. You can see that misty stuff to the right as well.
Hmm.
That's really interesting. Let's just go back there. Where is it? There. You can see how it all looks smoky and murky.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the smoky cloud. That's the trails. That's the chems. Yeah, when they spread out, they create that smokiness. It just doesn't look like even like a real cloud.
Hmm.
That's what actually creates that silver sky cover as well. And then the other cloud below it is because of, if you've got something blocking out the sun, it's going to create a different kind of climate below, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
What we really need is some time lapse
yeah,
in which we
but
see
that there,
thick.
I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere else was like that, all around the house. It was,
The thick cloud in the distance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Richard, can you give me just 1 second? I've got to go and get this delivery.
Oh, okay. No
Literally,
worries. Yeah.
one
Go.
sec.
Go. Yeah. Go get your delivery. I know what that's like. In the middle of an interview, somebody's knocking on your door, trying to take your van away or whatever. I suppose as I say, it would be nice to have some stop frame animation of it, time lapse to show absolutely blanket cover it, and then light the vinegar and see it go. And I'd like to see that over, say, a 2 or 3 week period, just to prove once and for all. Because if the wind is blowing the vapors away, you're going to all this effort, and somebody else gets hold of it and has a bit of blue sky, that would be a that would be a bit of a shame, really. However, we'll see how it goes. And I'm wondering whether it makes a difference if you were able to take your vinegar and your apparatus. I'll ask him in a minute when he's back. As you can see, I don't edit
I'm
these
here.
videos. Oh, he's back. I was going to ask, actually, I was going to ask you whether it
Yeah,
makes a difference if you do this higher up. If you're on a block of flats, you're a
I
bit
think it would
higher.
work better.
And if you could have, say, a hot air balloon,
I
and you
th-
balance your thing on the burners on the
well,
balloon, and
if you think about it, right, modification patents have been going back since 1891. How else were they getting it up there?
absolutely. Somebody also said it's
Yeah.
not just happening on the land. It's not just sorry. It's not happening by. It's not just happening with aeroplanes, but actually boats at sea, ships at sea, are firing stuff up
With it,
somehow.
and then you
I
got
don't.
frequencies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
So
there's
some
anyway. So
something I
that was the.
used as well, I've just forgotten actually, something I
Mm,
used to create that as well, which absolutely shocked me. I've got this beautiful instrument called a monochord, and it's just lots of almost like the same stringed, like a stringed instrument. It's like 34 strings. And I tuned it into 432 hertz, which is the natural resonance of nature. And when I was doing it just by itself, I was noticing I was getting this cloud coming over, and then I was getting blue sky behind it. And I was like, that's interesting, but it wouldn't last for very long. And then I found on YouTube this singing bowls video, and it was just basically playing singing bowls at 432 hertz. So I put that on my Bose speaker. I put it outside, and I thought I'm going to test, see what the frequencies, see if that actually messes around with frequency as well. If that breaks things up. And to my shock, that's what I got with that. It literally, like, it wasn't just, I don't think it was just, I think it was the combination of the two. It was that 432 hertz frequency going up there. And because remember, they're pumping out frequency too. Yeah, they're using harp and all these other different things that it's all dealing with frequencies and dealing with different bits and bobs.
yeah.
And I think there's at least four other technologies that they're using when they're pumping out these frequencies.
Right.
And so it's like, well, how do you combat that? Well, you put
Yeah.
up the frequency of nature. And 432 hertz
Very.
is the natural frequency of nature.
Show us your other video then.
Yeah. So these are my little Buddha flags that they've been out for some time, as you can tell. It's not my underpants.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So again, this is very
This
similar.
is this is literally I came straight down the stairs just to show what was going on. But then look at this. Look. There was just absolutely blue sky, and then there was this real anomaly up there that I couldn't explain. I hadn't well, I've seen it a few times, but a lot of people haven't. Right there, look at that. What was
What is
that?
that? What is that?
Hang on, let's go back. Right there, look at that. When was the last time you
Gosh.
saw it looking like that?
They do say the sun is whiter
It is.
than it
Yes.
used to be. It used to be a much more yellower thing,
Yeah.
and now it's whiter. Is there an explanation for that?
Well, if you look at it from space, it's still yellow, right?
Right.
So I think it's something to do with the atmosphere.
And how do you look at it from space? I mean, we've only got NASA's pictures to go by.
This is the whole the
How would
whole
it?
other rabbit hole, isn't it?
Yeah. Can
Um,
we go back to
yeah.
your oh, we'll just get to the end of your video and then go back
Yeah.
to where we can see you in more detail because you're a
Indeed.
tiny little window.
Yes. Let me stop share. Oh, let me. Yeah, that's it.
I'll let you fiddle
There we
with
go.
that. There we go. And he's back. There he is. Look.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're saying it does work, and I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just,
Mm.
we need what
The
if they're
results are
spraying?
consistent, Richard. And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying it's going to work every time. Like in the rain, it's not going. You're fighting a losing battle.
Because the
Um,
rain is pushing the
yeah.
vapors down, I
And
suppose.
do you know what? When I had that blue sky like that, not long
Mm.
after, one big grey, horrible dark cloud came over. Now, there's no rain clouds even in the background there, right? I am absolutely convinced, and it might sound very paranoid, but I'm absolutely convinced they have a way of creating like this smart cloud. I've seen it before when I've been doing this stuff. When I've got it up going up there, I'll get this little plane go across. It's almost like it's checking the sky out. And then next thing, I get this cloud that just looms over, and it's literally almost. In fact, one time it was literally over the house. It
Literally,
poured down, literally. Yeah, that,
literally.
that lovely word you love.
Yeah. It need only just be over the house, doesn't?
Yeah, just it was directly above the house,
There you go. So
and um and it
yeah,
and
go on.
it peed down, and but yeah, and then it disperses. When I stop using it, when I close it down, it stops and disappears.
Right.
I haven't worked that out yet, but there's something quite intelligent about how that's happening
Smart
because it's
cloud.
happening for a reason, I'm calling them smart clouds because I have no other way to explain. It's only when I've been putting it up there, and maybe there's days they really don't want me to be doing anything
So
up there.
I mean, do you think the intelligence is that sophisticated
Yeah,
that it can go, Colin
yeah.
Wyatt, and notice
No,
Colin
no,
Wyatt
no,
sent something over
no.
his
They're
house?
looking on satellite. They're looking at things on satellite, and also that, like I said, I've seen planes go across. That I had two low-flying planes go across right next to one another, and within seconds, just again that whole cloud cover came. And I was like, that's
Is that not your
bizarre.
paranoia? I mean, I'm not suggesting that you're
Exactly
not.
that, right? Exactly that. People would think, but people don't know the amount of hours I've spent observing up there,
No, no. Well, we
right?
can.
And I've got a lot of video footage now.
So have you been very vocal so that they would know Colin Wyatt's
Yes,
had it
I
again?
have. Yeah, I've been
We'll send a
on
division.
the old Facebook, and I'm not shy to because I'm like whatever, what?
What can they do?
Yeah,
What can they do?
yeah.
Okay,
What's
they
the
could
worst?
drop
What's the worst that
arsenic.
can happen, right? The
Yeah.
worst that can happen is that I die, and even then they didn't win.
Yes.
Someone would go, well, yeah, because you're dead. No, 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 they didn't. They put you in
Right.
jail. If you never agreed to it, they never won. They never won.
So let's talk about then the effort that they're doing this. We spoke briefly before we came on to record this,
Mm.
and you were saying to me, they can't relax now. Having tried to establish and normalize what the skies now look like, so that to ordinary everyday folk who have yet to understand what's going on, that they're normalizing this. So we now believe, oh, this is the new normal. This sort of horrible phrase that people say. But that means that they've got to be up there day after day, all around the world, all over the place, costing millions and millions, which of course they're tapping us for, presumably, because they've got to pay for this. Or do they just make the money out of thin air?
I'll share something with you in a second about that. But yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me your thoughts on that, because if they relax, it kind of gives the game away, doesn't it?
But this isn't recent. They've been doing this for again a long, long time, putting fear, putting it's almost like a tourniquet. They'll twist it, and then they'll just ease it off a little bit, just to make you go, oh, that's a relief. Then boom, back on again. Oh, that's a relief, and you get that tiny bit of relief, but most of it is all tension.
Right.
Um, and
Why? Why? I mean, if they've been doing it for so long, presumably they know they can just keep going.
you want to go back into history and see what was going on way, way back in history where big control measures were being accessed, even going back to, which has been documented, is even documented in the Bible, back to the Anunnaki, right the way
So,
back
are
there.
you suggesting that famines are manufactured?
I believe some are.
Because
I'm not
how do
saying
we
they all
know?
are, but I believe some are.
How do we know now what is natural weather, what is weather,
Okay.
and what
Well,
is
what's the weather
being
been like
manipulated?
this year? Because apparently in May we had the hottest May since records began,
Yeah, when did they begin the records? In April, I think. I
right?
think they started some new
Right?
records.
Since
Oh,
records
since
began. So how
yeah,
how is that? So does that sound normal?
no, of course not.
Yeah. If we start looking at the sky now, we can't go by what's been in like, even by yesterday. Let's
Mm,
start now. Let's
mm,
start observing now. Let's look
mm,
now and see what's
mm.
happening. Does it feel like summer?
Well, if you can't go back and compare, you don't know what summer is.
Well, we have an idea of summer, don't we? We know that summer is about sunshine. Summer is about insects flying around. Yeah. Summer is about
Bloody insects.
high vibration, fun, joy, feeling good about yourself, suntan, whatever it is, right? That's what summer represents to most of us. It means warmth.
Yes.
And so we have to question, are we getting the warmth since we're being told we have this global boiling
Mm.
situation? Then how the hell can it get so cold? That doesn't even equate, doesn't it?
Well, no. I mean, this is
So
it. I
so
mean, it's absolute rubbish.
they're backed into two options.
Mm.
Either global warming isn't a thing and that was actually manufactured to create more fear,
Hmm.
or it is happening and they're doing something to cool the skies, which they're still not being transparent about. Either way, it comes down to them not being open and transparent.
Right. Well, I would certainly plump for the first one, that man-made global warming is a load of old nonsense. I mean, we know,
Well, it
too
happens. It
too much
happens
information's
naturally.
come out now about the
The planet
Club of Rome
heats and it
coming up
cools
with the
naturally.
idea.
It's a natural thing. Greg Braden, he's a biologist and working with the weather and stuff like that. He's been doing it for God knows how long. And Greg Braden talks about this, and he said there's natural cooling cycles. And when they took ice core samples from Lake Vostok in Russia and also in Antarctica, they found that the levels of CO2 and what was the other one? Temperature, right? CO2 and temperature. We're told that as the CO2 rises, the temperature rises.
Mm.
Those results, and they've got 500,000 years of data, yeah, those results are showing the exact opposite. That actually the
Yes.
temperature rises and the CO2 follows afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's made all that public. He's kind of got out there and said, look, what we're being told here isn't actually accurate, but it's not being heard. There's not even a forum for debate for it.
No.
There's
Oh no, the
absolute
science is fixed,
closure
isn't
to
it? The
it,
science is fixed. It's
right?
we know what's going on apparently.
So so we know that there's these natural rising and cooling temperatures. And if we go back into medieval times in the UK, we were 2 to 3 degrees warmer than we are today. And
Hmm.
again, they can't lie, which is why you see in all the medieval films, they're all in short sleeve shirts and everything else, like they're not wrapped up like Eskimos like we are today. Why?
No,
You
they
know?
didn't actually make those films in medieval times. However, one
But
should
we
point
were
out.
we were 2 to 3 degrees warmer than we are
Yes.
today. So it's a natural occurring thing, I think. But once that happens, there's other things that come into play then. So then we move on to well, who might be doing all this? Who's got something to gain from this? And I
Hmm.
mentioned last time there's a few people that would benefit from this. Number one, top of my list is the energy companies. The energy companies would massively benefit from this because isn't it weird? You get that weird cold weather, and what do you want to do? Put your heating on. What do you want to do? Make warm food, cook, energy. It's going to take more of your energy. You're going to stay in more. So you're going to watch TV. You're going to use more electric and gas and oil, right? That's what you're going to do. So they've got a massive thing to gain from that. The pharma companies
So
will have
so
something
hang
to
on, hang
gain.
on. Are you
Mhm.
suggesting that the energy companies are colluding to do this?
I'll come to that. I'll
Okay.
come to that. And then you have pharma, right? Pharma's going to benefit because no natural vitamin D. Uh,
Farmers.
the pharma, big pharma.
Oh, pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Yeah, just to make that
Yeah.
clear, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So pharma will benefit massively because, illnesses will be more because not just because of the lack of sunlight, but the amount of crap they're putting up there and the what your body has to do to detox. And you're going to think you've got a
Yes.
cold.
Hmm.
And it was a con all along. You've never had a cold. You've just been detoxing the crap because I'm doing it right now. I'm detoxing what they've been putting up there.
We all
I
are,
know
I
I don't
imagine.
have a cold. I don't feel like it's a cold. It's just, mm, you know, I just don't feel like I'm ill. But there's definitely a detoxing going on for me
Hmm.
right now. And also, if you look at the companies such as Mr. Gates and the seeds, and so they would massively benefit because the farmers would have to get these seeds that are genetically modified
To grow in
to
cooler
grow
weather.
in any climate, in any weather. Yeah. Right. So they're the three that I've listed just off the top of my head. I think what we've got going on today is a monopoly. I think everyone's in it to win it up there. And I think they've come together in that agreement of going, do you know what? We all want the same thing, guys. Why don't we actually work together? Why don't we actually look at how we can actually do this together? Because we're after the same thing.
Hmm.
And it's the one thing you'd miss because It's invisible. You can't see it. They
What
failed
what
on that.
what
They
what's
can't
what's
monopolize the ocean, and they failed to monopolize the land because when they did that in America, Roosevelt literally destroyed all of the monopolies that Rockefeller had in the oil and all the rest of it.
what? Hang on, sorry. What did you said? It's the one thing they wouldn't miss. What's the one thing they wouldn't miss?
The I'm trying to think what I said to you. What
You said it would be the one thing they wouldn't miss. I'm assuming you meant the people
Oh,
wouldn't miss. What
yeah,
sunshine?
we wouldn't,
We
yeah, we wouldn't
what?
miss. Would
We wouldn't
be
miss what?
we wouldn't miss like we would miss it. I mean, we wouldn't see what was coming. We wouldn't be able to see it because it's invisible. It's in the air.
What is?
Whatever they're putting up, whatever the monopoly. So a monopoly,
I
yeah,
mean, we would miss the sun.
you'd miss the sun, but you'd miss the point of what they're doing. You miss the point that there's a monopoly going on. You miss the point that there's a money grab going on. That
Right.
they want you to be skint. They want you to have no money at all.
You see, I do hear this argument, and then I just think, well, how do they benefit if we have no money? If they throw us out the houses, if they poison us, if it's about money, then there comes a point where they've
It's
invested all
not.
of
It's not
this.
about money.
Hang
Yeah.
on, and then they get all our money, as you said, they're
Hmm.
all in it for the money. But once they've got all the money, then we can't give them any more. Then that's like, oh, then what do we do? So it can't be the money.
No.
But you just said it was.
The money is a means to
To
something
what?
else.
To what?
Your free will.
Right. Go
The
on.
money is a means to your free will. If you look at it on a much bigger scale, see, people keep looking at the money, right? The money is a means because
Mm,
it's what we all run on today.
mm.
Um, One of the other means would be to bring in a digital currency, which then would mean a whole load of trouble
Sure.
for a whole load of things, right? But on an even bigger scale than that, the one thing that these nefarious people of lower vibration, of lower, like, that have no feeling for humanity at all,
Mm.
the one thing that they have never been able to get is the complete compliance of somebody through their free will voluntarily for everything.
Right.
And if
But
you made them surrender because there was no way of getting your food, the food was completely wasted, there was no food around, and all this stuff. If
mm,
they were going to create or wanted to create a system where they were in complete control of a planet, then they would need your free will to do it.
yes, I get that. But you said earlier on that this is incentivized by the energy companies and by big pharma. So I'm just asking then, and I said, are
Mhm.
they all colluding together? And what does an energy company get out of the fact that actually, does an energy company want your free will? Does the big pharma companies want your free will, or do they just want to have continual orders and have you sort of, well, we can keep
If you
cashing?
let's look at it, let's simplify it, right? Let's look at it in the army, for example. Yeah. And in the army, you have your private soldier who has no
Mm,
rank, who really doesn't know what's going on. He's just told what to do and he does it.
mm,
Then you have like your lance corporal with the first stripe, and he'll kind of get some information, but little bits, but just to make sure they do what they they're being told to do. So they get told to do.
sure.
Then
Yeah.
someone with two stripes, and that whole hierarchy kind of
Yeah.
goes up the ladder, up the chain. You only know what you need to know.
Yeah.
They're never going to know what the commanding officer knows,
No, I get that.
right?
Yeah.
And so that whole hierarchy of all these companies will have the same things in place. You see it. You see it. It's always one guy at the top. This is the old system, by the way, of business. Yeah.
Mm,
One guy at the top saying, you do as I tell you because I'm the one giving you the work. And actually, what we're seeing in the new business is inverted. It actually that the guy at the bottom says thank you, and it's more of a family thing. It's more of a partnership with people rather than you do as I tell you sort of thing. But the old system, and these companies are all part of that old structure.
yes.
They're all
But I'm
part
still
of.
trying to work out.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to sort of follow your logic.
yeah.
Because it sounds like you're suggesting that actually, say, a cabal of people are in charge at the top of the pyramid, which a lot of
Absolutely.
people, yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Very
a lot of
small
people.
number, but yeah.
Hang on. I gotta just hang on. Let me explain my thing. So it sounds like you're talking about that. What a lot of people assume is like the elites, the Illuminati, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, are in there pulling the strings, which is what I take from a lot of people. But earlier you said, whose interest is it? It'll be the energy companies, and it'll be big pharma, and it'll be this and that and that. And so, but now it's not those people, you're saying.
Right.
So I'm just a bit confused.
I'm going to refer to a biblical quote, right?
Hmm.
And this goes back to the Old Testament and to the book of Deuteronomy. And in there, it says, God, which we know not to be because of what's about to be said, God said, um, rape and pillage the village, kill the men, and bring back the spoils to myself, right? Do not pray to any other God, for I am a jealous God. That doesn't sound like the all-loving, all-encompassing God. That sounds
Well,
like a person, right? But all these people would go and get whatever they can because that's just what is all about me, mine, I, not we, our, us, right?
hmm.
Me, mine, I. So get what I can, get what I can. This is where I think these energy companies and pharma and all the rest, I think that's where they all fit in. They're all getting and raping and pillaging and doing whatever else how they can just to get what they want because that's just what they're able to do. But I think there's something higher up than that that's calling the shots, and that then goes into woo-woo land because
Right. Okay.
we may not even be talking about a human being. We may not even be talking about something that's physical. Just putting that out there
Right. Well, you need to be more
because it becomes more
specific.
spiritual. It becomes
Yes.
a more
But
spiritual.
but you need to be more specific, because you can't just say, "Oh, well, it may go into woo-woo land," and then expect the
Okay.
audience, the lovely audience watching this, to understand what the hell
Yeah,
you're
I
talking about.
appreciate that.
Because I'm just trying to discern your argument and put it into. So 1 minute there's logic saying the reason you're being sprayed is because the companies want you to turn the heating on and use more electricity. Then you're saying above that there's a tier of people who are somehow persuading the energy companies to do that, but the energy companies themselves don't know the real reason they're doing that. They're just greedy buggers and making a fast buck. So somehow they've colluded with the people spraying the aeroplanes. Even though, all these people, all these tiers of people who are involved must, and I know we've seen it with the vaccine, but they have family, they have friends, and it comes back to the same argument with the pilots. They must know that we want to make more money, boardroom. Yeah, that's great. We all want to make money. Great. What we're going to do is we're going to collude with all these other people who also want to make a lot of money by poisoning the skies and putting arsenic on the ground and poisoning the food. Yeah, that's a great idea. And people will put their heating on. Yeah, that's a great idea. There must be somebody who puts their hand up and says, but won't we not have any food? Won't we die with everybody else? No, but think, we'll be dead, but we'll have a big pile of money at the back of it. Even though there's somebody pulling the strings, telling them that, I'd still find the argument very difficult that I know people are daft and they'll do anything for greed. I understand that. But they must know, even if for themselves, because they're selfish buggers, well, what will I eat?
Right. Well, I hear you. I hear you. The short answer is it's much more three-dimensional than that, right?
Well, the
The
audience,
way
the
I've
audience are on
explained
the edge
it,
of their
like it's
seats
not
wanting
just
to
like
know.
it's this and it's that. We live in a three-dimensional reality, right? Everything has a three-dimensional shape
Yes,
to it,
I
to a
get
point,
that, and the
right?
audience understands that.
Yeah,
I'm interpreting for the audience, and all
yeah.
I'm trying to do is be
It is
specific.
multifaceted, and there's a lot of different things to take. But I think ultimately, what it comes down to something that's um let's say on a more spiritual, on a more non-physical level of intelligence. And even beyond that, I think there's these things. In India, they talk about the yuga cycles, and the yuga cycles last for millions and millions and millions of years, where there's these natural cycles of behavior of what we go through, and there's some the most abrupt one. I think it lasts for something like 500,000 years, Um, it's the most abrupt, but fortunately for us, the most shortest as well. It's not the longest one, but and that's where we are. We're in the Yuga cycle uh, of that one now, Kali Yuga, I think it's called. Um, so that's why we've got all this, and I call it the churning up of the sediment. I just see it as, there's this beautiful piece, this beautiful element of peace, but there's sediment that needs to be dredged up sometimes to keep things clean. And I think on a even bigger scale than what's going on and who wants to control and wants to destroy humanity and free will, above all that, I think that's where all that lies. I think there's this natural energy that comes together that one doesn't want to move, but it's got to move because it's being cleansed and cleaned. And as that happens, there's going to be resistance because it doesn't want to shift because there's an intelligence to that energy. That's extreme and I'm sure people will understand where I'm coming from with
No,
that.
but
There's a much bigger scale
right.
going on.
But right, okay. So what you've described to me seems to me the difference between an ant and say a human. In the ant world, a human is perhaps a vague something, but have no notion that it's a giant walking about listening to the archers on the radio or planting something in the garden or going for a wee behind the hedge. They have no notion of what that is. It's just perhaps it's like a shadow or it's, I mean, even with an ant's brain, may have no notion that we're there. And it seems to me that you've described that the nefarious whatever it is that's controlling all of this is so removed from us that actually why the hell are we worrying about it, because there's nothing we can do.
Because we're here and we're here to. I asked that question out there, and the response that came back, I said,
What do you mean you asked it out where?
I when I communicate, when I do my channeling,
Right,
and
okay.
I asked that question, and the answer that came back is the reason why you're here is to bring experience into feeling, because as a non-physical being, you wouldn't know what smell smelt like to Richard Vobes. You wouldn't know what touch felt like to Richard Vobes. You wouldn't know what sound sounded like to Richard Vobes.
Who invented sound, smell, feeling, touchy? I mean, who invented that?
But they're all elements of frequency, aren't they? They're all vibration and frequency.
But I suppose what I'm trying to get to is if you've got something that's saying there's this consciousness that plonks us here to say you're here to experience all of this stuff, for whose purpose? For just for our purpose, or for the purpose of whatever it was that put us here?
One
Because
thing
if
expressing itself, wanting to know itself through various ways and in various forms, not just in human form, but in all form. And you only have to look at quantum science and look at um oh, just escaped my head now. There's an experiment that was done with an atom and splitting it up, and it was showing that you could actually your thoughts could actually interact with a um, a a photon in the center of a sun on the other side of the galaxy instantaneously and have an effect on it.
how much of an effect?
To the point of where, well, I don't know. I don't know that. I'm just going to
I
get
mean,
the
if it's a
quote up.
big effect, then somebody might accidentally think the universe out of existence.
Well, who knows that hasn't been done. I'm just going to get this thing up for you. According to quantum physics, a particle vibrating due to your sound when you speak can affect the molecule inside of a star at the edge of the universe instantly. This phenomenon is known as quantum entanglement. The greatest illusion of the universe is the illusion of separation.
Right.
There is
But
nothing, and
but
and,
but so in that
and
case,
if
I
nothing's
mean,
separate, then there's one intelligence.
right. Well, in that case, surely we can get rid of all the bad stuff instantly by just thinking it away.
And then where's the growth in that? It's like if you came in, let's imagine you were a chess player, right? A master chess player,
Hmm.
and you knew every move on that chessboard that was ever
Yeah.
going to be played. How
Yeah.
interesting would the game of chess be?
Well, you'd play a different game, wouldn't you?
You wouldn't.
What would be the
Yeah, but that game of chess would be boring, wouldn't it? Because you would know, and
yeah?
there
So
would be no
you
point in
would so you
playing
would
it.
take up a different hobby,
Well,
surely.
imagine that you are already a master at the game of life. But how do you come in and play this game of life? By forgetting you're a master.
Well, why would you? I've heard
Then
this
it becomes
argument.
fun.
I have heard this argument before about, oh well, in that case you just make yourself thick so you don't know the rules, so you've got to go through the whole process of learning it, blah blah blah. But why not just play a different game altogether?
Well, you
Why would
could.
you want to play the
You could.
chess?
You could on the
Why,
planet Zarg and be a three-legged thing with 10 eyes.
is that
Who
what's on
knows where you're
Zarg?
going to end up? You're all the same thing. See, when it gets deep, when it goes deep, and I love that. I love going into that area.
Yes,
When it goes
but
deep, like it's all the same thing.
yes, but when it goes deep, it suddenly kind of removes it from us in the situation that we are today. Either we can,
It
either
removes
with
the
this.
emotion, and that's the one flaw
No, no,
that
but
we can
if
have.
there's this
It's a
thing,
beautiful thing, but it can be a flaw as well, right? Emotion.
if there is a thing called quantum entanglement, which I don't disagree that there isn't. I'm not saying one way or another.
It's
But
proven. It's been proven on
right,
this planet. It's been proven.
okay, you would let me finish my sentence. If there is a thing called quantum entanglement, why is it then, if a thought can make an effect on a planet on the other side of God knows where, assuming there is planets on the other side of God knows where, and you can affect a photon, if the thought of man is powerful enough to do that, then surely we can just look up the sky and say clear, because you know that A, it's a bit closer, B, there's photons in there, and C, it would be of more benefit. You'd know it was working. You wouldn't have to kind of go, oh yeah, I've just affected a photon on the other side of God knows where. We'll prove it. Well, I can't actually go there, but I know that with quantum entanglement, I have done that.
How many
Nobody's
people are
even.
there on the planet, do you think, Richard, that we've been told anyway?
How many people? I don't know
What we've
how
been
many.
told?
There's,
We've been
who
told like
knows?
8 billion, right? Or
Yes,
whatever
I
it is,
doubt that
right?
for
We've been told
one
8 billion.
iota.
8 billion people are having different thoughts, and they're very negative thoughts, and they're very negative about the sky. They're very negative about this. They're very negative about the other things. And so when your thought goes out there to say change, you've got 8 billion other thoughts going, it's crap, right? So you
Right,
get more.
so
But
your
that
quantum
study that was
entanglement
done,
argument falls apart then,
no,
because
it doesn't, because
if
that study
no,
that
but
was done in two things that happened. A study that was
yeah,
done in Washington D.C., where people got together, they prayed and meditated to
and the
lower
crime
the
rate
violent
went
crime
down.
rate.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we know
and
that.
it's never dropped since. And also where they took a cell,
It's
they
never dropped since. Well, why aren't they doing it every day then?
because they had to go back home. They all went back home. So this is the next thing. Why don't you put something together where we can all come together and actually do something co-collectively and see if it changes something? But it's got to be done over time, because you can't expect it to go, oh well, 1 minute it's there,
But
now it's
well, hold on
changed.
a second. Quantum entanglement. You just said I can affect a photon across the other side of the bloody galaxy instantly. You can't have that and then say, oh well, it all takes over time. I mean, either it's instant or it isn't.
There's such a thing as called the law of gestation. The law of gestation states that everything takes time. There's a matter of time. There's because
But
we're
you
coming
just
from a
said it was
physical.
instant.
Right.
Now, hang on.
Thought
You see, you get contradictory here, where you sort of go, 1 minute it's
thought is
instant,
instant.
and then actually it's got a gestate now.
Thought is instant.
Right.
Yeah, thought is instant. There's nothing
Yes.
faster and more powerful than thought. Right.
Yeah.
But physicality is different.
Is that faster and more
Because
powerful?
something has to manifest. Yeah, it has to come from the non-physical, from the thought form into the
Yes.
physical form.
But you just said there was nothing more powerful or faster than thought, and now
Thought.
suddenly there
And then
is
thought,
something.
but as thought then becomes more dense, yeah. So now we're talking about density, yeah. So as thought becomes more dense, it has to now create form,
Right.
yeah.
But
It
thought
has
was
to
more
create form, and
powerful.
form
Yeah, but
form is a slower version. Form takes time.
yes, I
You
get
know
that.
that seed in your thought, in your mind, you know the seed of an oak tree, right?
Yes.
An acorn, you know what it's going to grow into. You know the size and the magnificence of that beautiful thing. And yet you know it's going to take bloody years for it to actually
Yeah.
manifest. Yet you know in your thought mind, you know it's already there.
Oh, my poor audience are probably laughing at me and thinking I'm a complete and utter plonker in today's episode because I keep.
No,
Now,
no.
normally I don't normally argue against something, but it does seem that sometimes there's contradictory ideas here. Because on the one hand, you can affect a proton instantly. Then there's this
With your
gestation.
thought, with your yeah.
And then there's thought that is more powerful than anything else. But then there's something called gestation, or there's this sort of manifestation which seems to be not as powerful as thought, which means is slowing everything down. So either thought is as powerful as it was or it isn't, and thought's got to wait for this manifestation business to. It's
Thought is
very
instant, right?
exhausting.
If you look at the seven
We all need a
primary,
nice cup of tea is what we need.
if you look at the seven primary universal laws, the number one is the law of
Who invented
mentalism.
all of this?
Pardon?
I mean, who invented all of this?
It just is. If you look at a guy called Hermes Trismegistus,
Did he invent it?
so that's what they called him in Greece. In Egypt, or Kem as it was known back then, his name was Thoth, Thoth, and he claimed himself to be an Atlantean. There were emerald tablets that he'd actually created. They weren't actually made of emerald, but they were of um, an
Emerald color?
alchemical. No, they were an alchemical composition which they've never really been able to figure out what it's made of, right, and how it's created. But in that there were writings, and it talks about lots of different things. These are extremely old tablets that are now allegedly in the bottom of the Vatican, and only a few people, three people I think in history, have been able to go in to decipher it.
So
They will
how
not
do
let
we
people
how
in.
do we know they exist if they are only three people?
One
They're
was
in the bottom of the
found
Vatican.
because they were being found. One was found under Teotihuacan, which is one of the pyramids in Mexico,
But
and that was found under one of the cornerstones. Some were found in Egypt as well, and so Toth talks about similarly these things, but Hermes Trismegistus kind of also talks about these things, and he talks about these seven primary universal laws. There's lots of other things that come on the back of that, but the seven primary ones. And the first three are the law of mentalism, which means everything's mental. Everything is thought form first before it becomes a thing. The next one
yes,
is correspondence. Everything corresponds as above, so below, as within,
yes,
so without.
like the hermetic
Yep.
thing.
And vibration. Vibration is the next one, which means everything in the universe vibrates. Everything in the universe has a vibrational force. And those are the top three. And then there's four lower ones that can be manipulated. So they're what you would call um, immutable laws. Yeah, you can't change them; they're happening all the time. The other four are mutable laws, which means they can be manipulated and played with. And I think that's where they get involved with when it comes down into people what we're dealing with today. They're using those, definitely using those four, um, those other four ones, um, gender and gestation. Well, you've only got to think about that, especially with gender today. Um, and gestation, the gestational period,
Don't
everything
you
takes
start
time.
gendering me. We can't get into all of that. We've run out of time. We've
Mm.
run out of time.
There's a lot.
Um,
There's a lot to unpack, Richard. Honestly, it's like
and
I've got
all of that.
years of behind of learning all this stuff. Just
Yeah, I
really getting
realise
into
I can.
researching.
All of that just so
Mm.
that people can get up in the sky and spray us with. I mean, you would think if they could, with their own thoughts, if they concentrated their own thoughts, they wouldn't need pilots spraying arsenic and barium and
Well, how do you know
aluminium.
they? How do you know they are? They were creating remote control planes in the 70s.
Well,
You know.
exactly. So we don't. At the end of the day, who
Well,
knows what's
I'll
going
tell you
on?
something. What Rockefeller said. Rockefeller said, "I don't want to create a." He was the one that kind of got the school system up and running with Andrew
Mm,
Carnegie. And he said, I don't want to create a society of thinkers. I want to create a society of workers.
mm. And yet they could probably think workers into existence, couldn't they? But there you go. They're going to get them with the robots and things. Listen,
Through
Colin, we have run
attention
it.
and intention, you can create anything. And through attention and intention, we can create the kind of world we want to live in. That is the transitioning into that 5D reality that a lot of people talk
We
about.
haven't got time for any of that.
No,
I've got to
let's go.
stop you.
Got a bus to catch.
Yeah, no, I've got some organic white distilled vinegar to get out there.
Well, I
and-
hope you're
and what have
using
you.
it, Richard.
Yeah, well, I'm not going in the supermarkets to buy the bloody thing. I
That's
don't
all
want
right.
them
Get it elsewhere.
surveillance.
Or
Ladies
send
and
someone
gentlemen,
in with some money.
An interesting conversation with two bald blokes trying to fathom out what's going on, and whether you take that seriously or not seriously, or whether you understand what Colin's going on about and whether you don't, or whether the logic has vanished, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Just take it honourably, enjoy that conversation, and I dare say Colin will be on the show again, sniffing his cacao and telling us some more wonderful things, which will be great. I appreciate it, Colin.
Richard, I do say to people, I say, don't accept what I say. Don't reject what I say. Just don't neglect it. Just go out there, research it for yourself. And that's the only way you can really come to an informed conclusion as to whether it works for you or not. And it's okay either way. It's okay.
Final thought. Despite the chemtrails,
Yeah.
despite all of this and the potential famine that might be as a result, which is what is genuinely worrying people,
Yeah.
are we going to get out of this?
Absolutely. 100%.
There we go. Thank you very
You
much.
can create anything you want. You're filled with infinite potential. There's nothing less in you than there is in me, and we're all the same.
Well, can you just create them to disappear immediately? That would be
Where
much
would be the fun
appreciated.
in that?
Well, do you know
I know, I know.
there are other things I want to do, which is more fun than sitting here trying to sort of wake people up to. I want to get on the farm and do various things, but at the moment I feel I've got to do this. So this whole notion
I
that
hear you.
where's
Yeah.
the fun in doing this? I've got other things to do, but this is what I've got to do. So if you're able to just mentally get rid of it all, please do that, because there's a lot of us who don't want
Well,
the
let's
stress,
let's
the
all come
worry, and all.
together. Let's all come together and start focusing it together. And that co-creative and co-collective force is much more powerful than we really realize.
I will be back with more monologues and more wonderful guests. Do tune in again. But in the meantime, check out happymindhappyyou.com. I think it's .com, is it?
It is.
And you can find out more about Colin Wyatt and all his activities. Until then, from Colin and I, thank you for watching. Goodbye.